Well, hello, everybody. Welcome into this afternoon, evening, morning edition, depending on where you are in your part of the world. We're talking about After Effects today. We're going to talk about masking in After Effects, and we've got a month of After Effects goodness in front of us that we're going to tackle. I've got my chat up here, so I'm going to be looking at you guys, looking at chat, looking at you guys, and I got After Effects in the middle, which is fun. Oh, Val, how you doing, Val? I'm just looking at the chat for the first time. Hello, Robert. Where are you guys coming at me from? Robert, how you doing? Val, good to see you. It has been forever. I think it's almost been 10 years since I last saw you. Jack, how you doing? Josh, how you doing? Joshua, thank you for the kind words. Oliver, all the good people. How's everybody doing? Well, this is my first time doing one of these little 30-minute streams, so it'll be fun for us today. And I'm used to going really fast, but I'm going to make a concerted effort to go a bit slower. And with that in mind, we're doing some beginner stuff in Adobe After Effects today. We're going to talk about masking, and probably a little bit more masking. But there's a lot of different ways you can mask things in Adobe After Effects, and masking is probably the most powerful feature I think, in any of the Adobe apps, really. But that stands true for Adobe After Effects as well. So we'll look at a bunch of different masking features and techniques. I have my little cheat sheet here on my desk that I wrote out before I went live here. So we'll begin looking at some stuff like that. Val, thank you for posting the starter files. You guys feel free to download the starter files. You'll have the exact After Effects composition in which I'm working today. And there are these 8 video clips here. I was down in Florida last week, and I ran out one evening, well, over the course of a couple evenings, really, and just shot a few videos of the ocean and the bay and some beachy stuff that I thought would be cool. And over the course of the month, we'll be kind of dipping our toes, no pun intended, actually, dipping our toes into all of this different footage. And it should be a lot more fun than I'm making it sound, because talking is not as fun as playing in After Effects. So let's get started. Josh coming at us from San Francisco. I'm outside of the Philadelphia area. It's been pretty rainy all day today, but it's finally starting to clear up. I'm seeing out my windows here behind my computer. But let's get started here. So we have this masking composition, and one of the cool things about After Effects is After Effects lets us take not video and make it video. So stuff that is still, or stuff that is just a completely blank canvas and animated, or add movement to a still photo. And anytime you create a composition, if it's an empty composition like this, masking _01, it's a video timeline, but it's totally empty. So we're going to begin with a just black video of nothing, and we're going to make something. So that's pretty cool. And we're going to start by adding our own video, but of course you could animate anything, but we're going to add our own video. So here's what we're going to begin with. I'm going to start with this masking, day 1 masking 02 MOV file, and I'm going to drag and drop it right down here on the bottom left, and voila, it pops up. Now, I wasn't shooting fancy. This is just a Canon R5 with a whatever lens, and you can see it looks like handheld footage. So there's a few things we can do. I'm going to try something risky, and I'm going to try tracking this just to smooth it out a little bit. So if we go Window Tracker, we bring up our tracker, and we'll go Stabilize Motion, and this little doodad pops up right here in the middle. So I just opened up my tracker window, hit Stabilize Motion, and then with your mouse wheel, you can zoom in on it. And there's a couple boxes. The easiest way to think about it is just, if you make the box big, it's going to take a long time. If you keep the box small, it's going to be a lot faster. What the boxes do, I'm not really going to go over right now because we don't have time. But if you want to move it, click inside the smaller box, not on the plus, but just anywhere inside the smaller box. Just click and drag, and we can drag it around. And I'm probably going to latch on to like this corner of the little lifeguard building or whatever. So there we go. We have our tracking point. And down here, I am going to choose my options button, and the motion tracker options dialog will pop up. The only thing I'm going to change is choose stop tracker, or stop tracking, I should say. And we probably are not going to have an issue with this video because this is pretty clear cut and dry. But this is just going to stop the tracker if something goes wrong, if Adobe After Effects confidence is below 80%. And here, you didn't think that Adobe apps had confidence. They do. They can be happy. They can be sad. They can also be confident, much like you and I. I'm going to go ahead and hit OK. And once we have this, I'm over here on the first frame. So I'm just going to hit the play forward button right here, the analyze forward button actually. And it's going to just track through this just like this. And you can see it's actually moving at a decent little clip here. So that is nice. Puns are welcome here. This is where puns come from. The funny thing is I'm a dad now. And not only do I have puns, but usually the pun is wrapped in a dad joke. And it's a real, genuine dad joke because I'm a dad. So what we have happening here is we have, you see all these sort of marks that appear. These are all kind of the keyframes. If I, if I open up, not positioning, but if I open this up under motion trackers, we can see all these, well, it's easier to just keep it here, but all of these are all these keyframes that our tracker has created. And it's just moving the footage around for us. Now I'm going to zoom out a bit more. I'm going to make sure that the footage is kind of where I want it to be. Let's play through this here and just see what we've got. So that's not too bad. But with this tracking setup, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and we're just going to apply a wipe of text across this video file. I'm going to come back to my video here. Let's just apply some text to this. So I'm going to grab my text tool and I'm going to type out the words. I'm not going to do it all caps. I'm going to say Adobe Live, and we can't see the end of Adobe and we can't see the word live, but that's all right because our text is huge. So over here in my text panel, I'm just going to click and drag. Well, it might be easier if I just select it and manually punch in something like, let's try 700. And that's probably still a little bit too big. Let's go 600, and that's cool. And let's put this right up here, let's say. And then I'm going to select my eyedropper, and I'm going to probably choose the color of the sky, like a darker color in the sky, like that. And that's actually not bad, but I want it to pop a little bit more. So we're just going to change it a little bit more, maybe something like this. And maybe I want it to be a little lighter. Something kind of like that is all right. Hit OK. And now the idea is we want this text to wipe onto our screen, and this will be our first mask. So when you don't have anything selected, and by that I mean any of these layers down here in your panel, when you don't have anything selected, if you use the shape tools or the pen tool and you draw a shape, well, look at that, we get a shape layer. Well, I don't want a shape layer, I want a mask. Same thing with the pen tool. If I draw out here with the pen tool, I get a shape layer, but it's made with the pen tool. Again, I don't want that. Let's just select this layer and delete it. But if we select a layer, in this case, we have this text layer, now these same exact shape tools have this white square with a black dot. That indicates that we're going to draw a mask. Now, a mask is just like if you take a piece of paper and hold it up in front of your Adobe document and cut a hole in the middle, that hole you punched in the middle would be the mask. So in this case, if I draw a square over the letters OBE, it is only going to show O, B, and E because everything else will have been covered up by the mask, and we're just revealing that one chunk of stuff in the middle. I don't want to just show OBE. I actually want to show the entire double word of Adobe and Live. And this might seem counterintuitive. What's the point of this? There's no animation. Well, the cool thing about a mask is we can animate masks. We've just made our first mask. By the way, if I take my selection tool, I can select this mask, and let's say I just want to cut the word in half. Well, just like that, we can cut the word in half. All right, but I don't want to do that. I want to make this text wipe in from the left side of frame. So we're going to do that by animating the mask. Again, I can take my playhead here, and let's go to around the 1 second mark. We can see here where we are on our timeline. We can navigate to about 1 second. And I'm going to, when you select the layer here, if you select your layer and hit the letter M, it's going to open up your mask. But if you double press M, it's going to open up your mask and all the mask properties. So I'm interested in animating this property here called mask path. So in order to animate stuff, and I'm assuming you guys know how to do a little bit of animation, but if not, I'll walk you through it. Let's hit the plus button a couple times. It's going to allow us to zoom in on our timeline, just the plus button on your keyboard. We hit this little stopwatch, and that's going to drop what's called a keyframe at the 1 second mark. So this is now, we've set a position for our text. We want the text to end up here at some point in time. Then we go back to frame 1, and remember, we're not moving the text around. We're just going to move this mask on top of the text. It's like taking that paper with the hole cut in the middle and sliding it over something to reveal it. We're going to take this mask and slide it right off screen like that. And After Effects is smart. Not only does it have confidence, but it also has some intelligence. It knows that we want this to be a second place from which we animate. So it automatically drops a keyframe. So now when we scrub between these two keyframes, we can see that the mask is showing nothing, right? Off screen, there's nothing to show there. And thus our entire video is covered. The text is not visible. Then as our mask slides on, well, won't you look at that? It reveals our text. Very cool. Let me move this, set this back to a full size for everybody here. Now, what we can do are a couple things to make this mask animation a little bit better. Number one, you can see as this is masking, it's just this very hard edge. Well, we have this mask feather option. If we increase this, it's going to blur that edge. And I'm going to take it up to about 100 pixels. Now, the way that mask feather works is it blurs based upon the edge of the mask. So it will divide your 100 pixel blur. 50 of those pixels are going to be blurred on one side of your mask line and 50 pixels on the other side. So that's why we're seeing it's blurring on both sides of the mask. You can see that. Sometimes that's a very important consideration depending on what you're masking and just how precise you need to be. Just know that it's going to blur on both sides. So keep that in mind. So now when we see this mask wipe, it's going to be more of like a friendly wipe, just a sort of, it's not quite as harsh. It's not as, staccato is not the right word, but it's not as just chopping because it's got that nice fade on it. Now, that's not it. Right now, it's just a linear animation. Every frame moves at the same speed. We can make this look a little bit more natural, a little more real by using what's called easing. So let's drag a selection over both of our keyframes, and I'm going to right-click and come down here to what's called Keyframe Assistant. And here, I'm going to choose Easy Ease. So Easy Ease it's kind of the OG easing here in After Effects. It's nice, but we can make it nicer. And if we can make it nicer, let's make it nicer. And we can do that by selecting our keyframes, or I'm just dragging a selection over them, pretty straightforward, and then hit this little doodad here, the graph editor, and you will see this. Now, you might see something that looks more like this. If it looks super tiny, just hit your plus key a few times and navigate over. And the bigger you make it, the easier it's going to be to work with it. But this is basically our animation, right? It picks up speed, it hits its apex at 15 frames, and it slows down a little bit. We're easing it in. It's not just one linear line. But we can do something even better. I tend to like to do easing where it hits really hard and then it kind of fades out. And we're going to do that by pulling this handle here at the back end and saying, look, get up to speed really fast and then just fade the animation out. And we can make it more extreme by pulling back on this as well. So by the time we get to about 4.5 frames, it's going to be moving really fast, and then it's going to slowly show the rest of Adobe Live. So let's see what that looks like. You see how it just kind of like hangs and sticks at the end, right? It's just a nice effect where it gets going and then slows down and just lets us really take in what we're working with. But that's not all. Check this out as well. If we select the word mask and we specifically select mask path, we can edit this mask. Now, you might not think that's important, and for a lot of uses, it's not that important, but it's a really, really great thing to know how to do because sometimes you may want to come in here with the pen tool, and you can see if I hover over my mask line, it's going to give me this little plus icon. Well, I can do something like add a plus here, and then I can take this. Let me take the pen tool again here. And I could take this, and I could pull it. Let's just pull it so we're like maybe fading off the top part of the A, and maybe we'll come in here and we'll just fade away part of the bottom of the O and the D and the B, but we don't really want to affect the E. Actually, that's a good thing that just happened. I can show you. And then over here at the end, if I click and hold when I add one of these anchor points, it's going to pull out the tangent handles. And what's cool about that is like I could do something like this, and then I can select this handle now and pull this back in this way and just say like, I want to do this, I want to do this kind of funky thing where I am fading away the bottom and the front side of the E, right? So now we've got this crazy looking mask that looks wild, but this mask, What's going on over here? Well, we can get rid of this a keyframe. I'm not sure I accidentally added it. Oh, I didn't accidentally add a keyframe. I was not positioned. That's actually a good thing to point out. When you go changing the animation that you're doing on the mask path, you want to make sure that you're on one of your keyframe locations. Otherwise, remember, After Effects is intelligent and it's going to automatically create a new keyframe. And see, what's going to happen now is it's going to animate like this, but then it's going to animate back to the regular square or the regular rectangle because we have this here. What's the solution? Well, the solution is simply delete that keyframe. That keyframe was never my friend anyway, and drag this keyframe right here. And then what we're going to see is now we're going to fade in and have this effect that happens all at once. So it is, well, we probably need to redo our easing as well. Yep, you can see our easing got messed up. Let's select these. Let's right click. Let's just reset the easing, or maybe do easy ease out and just call it a day. Well, yeah, let's leave this how it is and not get back into the keyframe assistant because we don't have time for that right now. But you can see that now there's all of this fading that moves into place with our mask, and it's all still the same exact mask that we had before. So that's all pretty cool. One other thing that would be neat to cover here is we can mask this text behind an object. So let me see here if I have another video that would work for this. Well, yeah, let's do it with the ocean here. Let's take this clip. All right, so we're gonna duplicate our composition by just hitting Command or Control C and then Command or Control V. Again, After Effects smart. It says, hey, you don't want masking O1 copy. We never want copy. We want masking O2. Great. And I'm just going to delete both of these. And we're going to drag in maybe this ocean video here. And you can see that it's the ocean that is coming toward me. Now, my idea here is it'd be cool if as the ocean recedes, it reveals some text. So it kind of attaches itself to our little wave cap there. So the first thing I'll do is I'll right click here on the video and I'm going to go time and I'm going to say time reverse layer. So what this is going to do is now the ocean is just moving away from me instead of moving into me. All right. And let's say our effect is going to begin somewhere around here. This looks good. What we'll do is we'll add some text again. And let's make this say Adobe Live. Let's spell it correctly because that's helpful. And I'll drag this and let's put it right around here actually. And we're just going to make this white for the sake of time. And cool. This is good. We don't need to worry about being perfectly aligned. The keyframe was never my friend anyway, says Val. That's right. All right, so we'll begin right here. And what we now need to do is, if you can imagine, we need to make a sandwich of the sand video, the text, the sand video. And we're going to mask away that top sand video. So as that mask travels with the wave, it reveals the middle of our sandwich, which is going to be that Adobe Live text. So it's like our original videos here, we slide text in here, and then up here on top, we're going to cover it up and then slide it away when we want it to be revealed. So we're going to take our original video, Command or Control D duplicates it, and we'll move it up on top of our Adobe Live text. And now let's begin creating a mask. So grab the pen tool, and we're going to create it right here along the line of the ocean. And the cool thing about water is water's pretty soft. So we're just going to feather this a bunch, and it's going to look pretty good. All right, so there we go. Now, part of the issue is as soon as we mask this, remember the way the mask works, it's going to show what we have in that masked area. Well, we actually want it to hide what we have in the masked area and show everything else. So I'm going to hit the letter M. I'm on our top layer. We have our mask. I'll hit M. Actually, let's open everything. We have this drop-down menu. Well, we can just hit inverted, but that's not the cool way to do it. The cool way to do it is go and say subtract. And then we're knocking away the bits that we have selected here. So let's start here with our mask path because it really doesn't matter. Nothing matters up until this point. And let's move to about, I don't know, a second or two down the timeline. And all we need to do is, we don't want to do that. We want to select, let's select mask feather and then mask path and grab our selection tool up here. And we'll begin selecting one point at a time. Even if you have to deselect and reselect, just select one point at a time and begin moving them to just go along with the edge of the ocean or the edge of this little wave, or it's not really a wave. I forget what these things are called. Bits of water, flat water. And here we are, look at this. And really all we need to do to sell this effect, if I zoom in a little further, is add mask feathering. Now, we haven't created keyframes for mask feathering. So when I apply feathering to the mask, it's going to do it across the whole mask. It's not, I don't have to worry about going to every keyframe. It's its own separate thing. So we'll just go ahead and apply a nice, I don't know, 25, 30 pixel feather like that. And then let's select our mask path again and go a couple seconds further or so, maybe a second and a half further down our timeline. And let's go ahead here and do the same exact thing where we just take this and we end up revealing, whoop, we don't want to bend it. And we'll just reveal our entire bit of text just like this. You can see it's pretty easy, but it's pretty cool when it's all said and done. So watch this now. Maybe we go a little bit further and just make sure that we're all good here. Make sure that the top of live is in fact visible. And if I deselect everything, just so we don't even see the lines of the mask, we're not distracted by it. And maybe one thing we want to do, we'll go to our Adobe Live Text now, and let's give this a better color. Let's give it something that matches a little bit more, and maybe make it a little brighter, give it a little bit more contrast, and let's play it and see how it works. So we play it. Our first little bit goes away, and then our second little bit washes over and is going to reveal our text just like that. And again, we're kind of cheating when it comes to water like this, because this is very easy to do this with, but this is also a beginner video. So we should be happy about that, right? I'm happy about it because I'm glad it worked out well. But that's the point, though. All we did was a couple keyframes, right? If I open up the mask again, we have 4 keyframes, and we just masked, or we feathered our mask, I should say, and we were able to do that. So that's pretty neat. Now, the last little masking technique that I want to show you, and this is going to be quick because it's quick. Let's copy and paste, and now we have masking 03. Let's delete these 3 layers. I'm going to grab this video here, let's say. Maybe we're doing something where we're setting up for some Adobe Live event or something, and it's in Florida or wherever. I'm going to take my text. I'm going to, again, say Adobe, this time in all caps because I want the chunky text. Adobe Live, and let's squeeze our text together. Let's make the text bigger, and let's space it out a little bit more. Maybe we'll make it a little bit bigger yet, and then space it out a little more, something like so. And we'll just tuck it up here in the top corner, right? Something like that. Well, let's say we want to make the video only appear through our text. How can we do that? Well, there's a few things we can do. Number one, any one of your layers can become a mask in and of itself by using the track mat. Now, you probably, if you have opened up your Adobe After Effects, you probably see this because this is the first thing you see. But there's this little toggle switches/modes button. And when you do that, you get your blending modes. And more important to our particular situation here, we get track mat. So what I can do is I can talk to my video and I can say, hey, look, use that Adobe Live text as the track mat, as my mask, as my mat. And what it's going to do is say all those areas that say Adobe Live, that's the only area I'm going to show this video. And if I click that, sure enough, that's what happens. Now, we do have a problem here, and that is maybe I don't like the black video, and you might be thinking, oh, well, I can just go to composition settings and I can change, of course, the color of my background. It doesn't really work that way. When you export it, if I recall correctly, at least, you're still going to have black on the background. So what you need to do instead is right click over here and choose new and choose solid and give yourself a white solid background and drag that to the bottom. And now we have this video that is piping through our letters just like that. But that's not all, actually. Watch this. We can mask a mask. So with this Adobe Live Text, we have the Adobe Live Text selected. So if I use my shape tools, I can drag a mask over that. And just like we did before, I can take this. I can select mask path. Let's say I want it to, right around 1 second, I want it to show up there. Add my keyframe, go back to keyframe 1, and just drag my mask down and give it a big old feather like we did before. Let's select these 2, and let's just go easy ease out and play this. And now the text is going to fade in and also be text that is showing through some video underneath it. So those are a couple things that I wanted to talk to you guys about today regarding masks in Adobe After Effects. If there's any questions that have popped up in the chat, anything that I've missed, let me know. I'm seeing Val. Share your work. Make sure you download the starter files. We got a bunch of files. Next week, we're going to be talking about green screen stuff. So you'll probably want to download those files because that'll be a great one to follow along with. But yeah, masking in Adobe After Effects, it's pretty easy once you get the hang of it, once you kind of can conceptualize it and get your head screwed on straight in terms of how it works. Um, but yeah, that's what I wanted to cover today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you have any questions, again, you can hit me up on social media or leave comments here. Or most importantly, wait until next week and show up next Monday when we do this all over again and ask the question after you've had some time to chew it over in the chat. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you next time.